Coming up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable, the governor extends the state's ban on driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, and Arizona's jobless rate jumps a full % above the national average. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining me tonight are Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Ben Giles of the Arizona Capital Times. Governor Brewer announces an expansion of the state's driver's license ban to include any immigrant granted deferred action from deportation. Mary Jo, give us kind of a background here of what's going on, and this particular move getting a lot of backlash.
Yes. This comes in the context of a lawsuit that's been filed against the governor for her decision from last year to not grant driver's licenses to the Dreamers, who are young people who came into the country. I think they have to be under age 31, over age 16. That lawsuit is challenging her ability to do that, saying, well, but you let other classes of people get driver's licenses, so expand the class and see if that argument will fly in court.
And this is interesting because there were actually two claims that were brought by the ACLU and National Immigration Law Center. One was that the governor's decision was preempted by federal law, that the feds get to decide who stays, and the trial judge said, I don't think so. And the judge refused to issue an injunction, but the judge did say, wait a second, you do understand what equal protection means. And there was testimony that there were 500 people with deferred action. This new program that Mary Jo was talking about is deferred action for childhood arrivals. There's folks who get deferred action, for example, if you are the victim of domestic violence and are here illegally, the government will allow you to stay so you can flee your person. They get work authorization cards. And so the governor figured, well, rather than give the Dreamers the licenses, I'll just take it away from everyone else.
Which means, and everyone else, again, as Howie mentions, domestic violence, human trafficking, sex exploitation. I mean, you're talking about folks who are victims with capital V's. I mean, critics are saying this is vindictive, this is spiteful, this is heartless. Is there any chance she could reconsider this move? Or?
I think this is a sign the governor's dug in and doubled down on her position on this. I think the only thing that will shake her off of it is a court ruling to the contrary. But the fact that she has expanded the class of people who will be denied access to include, as you say, people who are victims of the capital V sort of suggests that she is not about to retrench.
And is creating, as you point out, some very negative publicity, almost 1070-like publicity. That it's one thing to say, well, you will fight about the Dreamers, but then to take on everyone else. And this state is just recovering from 1070 in terms of some of the things that went on in the economy, in terms of tourism and the conventions, and this isn't the kind of publicity we need.
Ben, general reaction from what you've been hearing, what you've been seeing down at the Capitol, and obviously no one's there now, but I mean, as far as the connections and such, it just sounds like this has created a bit of a firestorm.
It has, and I think Mary Jo is absolutely right. It is the governor digging in and trying to defend her position by kind of getting a jump start before this heads back to court. And it's been portrayed as being a wildly unpopular decision, and I don't see any reason to believe otherwise.
Howie, real quickly, do you think the governor knew the ramifications of something like this?
Oh, well, on one hand, I'd say she has to understand, but what also fascinated everyone about this is it's not like the governor's office was up front and announced this. We found out about it from the ACLU telling us that ADOT had amended its policy. So maybe they thought it would slide unnoticed. Yeah, like that was going to happen.
Here's one question I have, is that the deferred action for the childhood arrivals, it's a 2-year window, and we're more than a year into that. So when that 2 years is up, and they're out of the picture, what will happen then to these other classes of people?
Well, theoretically, you may have other folks coming in who may qualify. We're up to about 15,000 folks who have qualified for the DACA. But the other thing is they're going to keep getting renewed. They get renewed every 2 years. And so this will be an ongoing issue. One of the interesting theories I heard, it was actually Bob Robb who came up with a very nice way of handling it. He said, look, this is 1996 state law that says you can't get a driver's license unless you're authorized to be here. That's a state law problem. Congress has authorized Homeland Security to grant deferred action. Congress has authorized Homeland Security to grant these people permission to work, employment authorization documents. And so maybe there's a good case to be taken in state court if this whole equal protection argument falls apart to say she's violating state law.
All right. Also from the governor's office, just here not too long ago, Ben, there's a new edict. Don't you dare call it Common Core anymore, this new education standard. Nothing changes, if I'm reading this correctly, nothing changes but the name. What's going on here?
Same standards, different name, and it's just the governor bowing to the pressure from largely the Tea Party movement that has just been blasting Common Core since at least this most previous session. There was a huge push against Common Core and any type of legislation that even had a whiff of Common Core attached to it, simply because it's a view of a federal government intrusion into Arizona's education system.
And what's fascinating about that is this is not Congress. This is not Arne Duncan at the Department of Ed. This was crafted by the National Governors Association.
Yeah, compendium of states.
Adopted by Arizona in 2010. Called Common Core by the governor at her State of the State speech in January in her budget preparation. And it's sort of like the idea of common. Sounds communistic, maybe, to me.
Well, Mary Jo, what's going on? I mean, that sounds a little bit over the top there, but how much over the top is that?
Well, I mean, this really falls into the category, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a Common Core. And people are, it's still going to get referred to as Common Core, I would wager, in academic circles, but it is strictly a cosmetic change. It does not change any of the standards. And certainly the opponents, who have been very outspoken, well, they're not stupid. I mean, then they'll call it whatever this new title is and right, you know, wage their campaign against that.
Is the name Arizona College and Career Ready Standards actually going to fool the people who are against Common Core? I don't know.
But you put in the word Arizona. See, there are standards. Look, it's the same group. What happened in 2010 is the Board of Education looked at these, excuse the expression, Common Core standards.
Watch it
took
now.
about 85. I know there's a felony in there somewhere. Took about 85% of them, added about 15% Arizona stuff, and came up with Arizona's version. And the important thing about Common Core that everyone is forgetting is the whole purpose was we had Ames. Ames only tests us against ourselves. We want to find out how are we doing against other students across the nation. The idea was to have this standardized test so we could measure ourselves, and now it's what? We're going to be competing?
And the opposition will continue, but if you recall, there was a sort of faint-hearted attempt at a ballot measure to, which they thought would help get at undermining Common Core, and the thing never got off the ground.
Well,
so, you know, to question, you know, how much oomph this is going to have to try to foil Common Core or whatever you might want to call it, it doesn't seem like it's going to go very far.
And it's also important to note that these standards are already being adopted in Arizona schools. I don't think a lot of people who are against Common Core realize that.
Well, and we should mention as well, the Education Superintendent of Public Instruction, John Hubenthal, was floating this thing around a week or so. He was going to Tea Party things, and they were yelling and screaming at him, and he was saying, the feds aren't going to, we're going to change the name, the feds are, and the governor, Mary Jo, no standards imposed on Arizona by the federal government, reaffirms Arizona's right to set education policy.
Yeah.
Is this going to mollify the critics?
No.
And if it does, what does that say about the critics?
Yeah, no, it's not going to mollify the critics because I mean I think they get it that it's a change in name only. So you know you can call the ball field down the street Bob, or you can call it Chase Field. It's still the place where the Diamondbacks play baseball.
It's a rebranding. How's that?
There you go.
Oh, I like that.
Like that? Okay.
Yeah, we know how well they work. Remember when we rebranded downtown as Copper Square?
Sure.
You are calling it that, right?
All the time. Howie, the clean elections, we got a ruling. They're appealing the ruling regarding campaign finance limits, these new campaign finance limits. Give us a brief overview. What's going on?
Well, what happened during the session is that the legislature said the current limits, like $440 from any one source for the legislative candidate, is too low. And there are some questions about whether constitutionally you can wage a campaign for that. So they went ahead and they raised them and did some maneuvering, so it's now $4,000. They got rid of the limits entirely on how much a candidate can take from PACs. They got rid of the limits entirely on how much any individual can give overall. But what they didn't do at the same time was raise the clean elections folks. Now, the clean elections folks are saying, now, wait a second. Because we referred to the regular limits in our 1998 ballot measure and said the regular limits are reduced by 20%, that's now voter protected. Well, the judge didn't buy that, and so now we're at the Court of Appeals. Now, Tom Collins, who's the executive director, says, look, we need a quick decision. We've got fundraisers going on out there. I mean, tonight, the governor is at a fundraiser at Reg Ballantyne's house raising money for a bunch of lawmakers who supported the Medicaid expansion. You know, everybody's operating within the new limits. And once you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
The question here is, what does the Voter Protection Act protect?
Yes, in terms of how it relates to the limits on campaign contributions. That's the Clean Elections Commissions felt that the lower court, Judge Brain, didn't quite get that argument, so they're taking it up to the Court of Appeals, I think, the first week in October.
All right, so we'll see how that goes. Ben, Ken Bennett, did he announce for governor? Did he not announce for governor? Did someone else announce for him for governor?
Well, it depends on what day you read the news this week. But earlier in the week, there was a paper in eastern Arizona that reported Ken Bennett announces finally he's running for governor, and he's also going to resign his office, I think about maybe 4 months in advance of the election. Not exactly true, according to his spokesman later in the week, who said, no, he's not going to resign. He's never going to resign. He'll serve the remainder of his term. And he also hasn't officially announced he's running yet. He intends to run, but he's still exploring the race. It's as good as announcing, I guess, without you walk over the line and then you walk back.
And part of this is the game that keeps getting played with there's another constitutional amendment that says you may not offer yourself for office except during the last year of your term. So if Ken Bennett wants to run for a different office, he's got to wait till January 3rd when his of 2013 since his term, or 2014 since his term's up in 2015. Well, they've danced around. We have exploratory committees. We have draft committees. We have thinking of running committees.
But I thought that was all supposed to change. Didn't he resign to run?
Well, it did change that he can announce. He can now have a real committee. He can announce, but he still can't file his paperwork before the last year. So everybody's been speculating about who's jumping in when. Everyone wanted to get a jump on it. Like we don't have a long enough campaign season now.
Yeah. Now, and then to sort of keep stirring the pot on that, we did have one candidate. We had two other people that were eyeing the governor's race say, okay, I'm out of it. I'm not going to do it. House Minority Leader Chad Campbell, who had been toying with running for the Democratic nomination for governor, decided that he will not, citing some family issues. He is termed out of the legislature after next session and says he will not be running for any office in 2014, but obviously put his marker in that he's not quite done with public service. And then yesterday, Hugh Hallman, after a great deal of consideration, which from what he told me it sounded like it was about a half hour, decided that he would drop his bid for governor and instead set his sights on state treasurer. And this at the behest of many supporters who signed a letter saying, why don't you do this? Because sort of written between the lines is, you're not going to get very far.
I was going to say, Ben, he made it sound like they were urging, civic and business leaders were urging him to run for treasurer. It sounds like they were also urging him, don't do the other one. Is that pretty accurate, pretty fair?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. There were a lot of politicos at the Capitol didn't think Hugh Hallman had a very good chance in what's considered to be a really crowded Republican primary for the governor's office. I think it was Monday there was a lobbyist who put out a draft Hugh Hallman for treasurer letter, and then days later Hugh Hallman decides, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It didn't, as Mary Jo said, I don't know exactly how much thought was put into it, but I think it confirmed what a lot of people were suspecting for a while, that Hallman would look for something else to do besides run for governor.
So this will be interesting because we also have Martin Sepulveda, who has announced that he is seeking the Republican nomination for treasurer, and a businessman, Jeff DeWitt, who is also recently he just filed last month. We haven't heard much from him. So now it looks like we've got at least a three-way contest on the Republican side for treasurer.
Does that make Hallman the prohibitive favorite, though?
Well, what it does is, if you look at the list of the folks who signed this little letter saying, please run for treasurer, it basically commits them to raising money for him. And there's some high-profile names on there, including former Treasurer Dean Martin.
Speaking of raising and perhaps even hoarding a little bit of money as the other side beats itself to death, with Chad Campbell now out, Fred Duvall, I mean, it's pretty clear sailing. Is anyone else in the weeds out there?
It really would take Fred self-destructing somehow, in a way that we can only imagine, sitting around here, for anyone else to even gain the kind of traction. I mean, look, as much as Chad says there were family issues, Fred had soaked up every conceivable endorsement there was, including some folks who were Chad's people in the House. And so, I don't know where there is left to go.
Yeah, there is another candidate who has filed to run for the Democratic nomination for governor. I'm sorry, I cannot remember his name. He's a minor candidate that does not have any name ID, but technically he's out there. But we'll see if he makes the ballot.
Okay, and one more possibility of running is Speaker Tobin. Thinking of the CD1 race, they're going up against Ann Kirkpatrick here. We've got Adam Quasman is running, this Tucson, I believe, and this rancher Gary Keeney is running as well. Kirkpatrick is always viewed as, everyone thinks she's vulnerable, and perhaps she is, but I'm surprised we're not seeing more in the way of Republicans crowding into that contest.
You've got a couple of issues. Number one is who lives in the district. Tobin doesn't even live in the district. Now, it's not a constitutional requirement, but that's part of it. Number two is that Ann has protected her right flank. In fact, there was a whole C-SPAN piece this past week with her and Gosar together, explaining, in some cases, how they were working together for the common good. She's been very careful to recognize the issues in terms of whether it's pollution or forests for her district, and she's trying to protect her flank. Is she vulnerable? Well, it's not a presidential election year. Certainly anything is possible. The question becomes, who do the Republicans put up? Adam Quasman is a young Turk, if you will, in the party. Of course, as you point out, he comes from basically the Tucson end of the district, which is the tail, and I don't know that the folks in northern Arizona are going to say, who is this kid?
Would a Speaker Tobin, have a shot?
Oh, I think definitely. I mean, he'll have no problems fundraising. He can move into the district. I think he has a business office that is technically located within the confines of CD1, and who's out front on Yarnell and trying to get benefits for the firefighters' families and for future wildland firefighters.
Real quickly, how is that going? Is there going to be a special session on that? What's happening with that?
I think it's hard. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly how they do it legally, because you have to do it in a way you can't have. There's a constitutional prohibition against gifts, constitutional prohibition against special legislation, so you can certainly address issues prospectively. The question of filling in retroactively to say, you weren't members of the public safety personnel retirement system before, but post-mortem you are, that's a real problem.
He also wants the state to help build Yarnell. He also wants the state to help the cost of Prescott. I mean, he's asking for quite a bit from the state here. Is he leading a big parade, or is it just him out there on the...
Can you say Tobin for Congress? No, I'm sorry.
Certainly he's at the head of... There's tremendous amount of sympathy for what happened up in that community, and especially for the families of the firefighters. But as there are limits to how much the state's largesse will extend, and I'm waiting to see who's going to be the person that's going to step up at the legislature and say, no, wait a minute, we got to think about this also from a cost perspective, because and it would be interesting if that comes from a Democrat, because this is sort of their natural inclination is to help. The Republicans don't want to look bad on this. What I also find interesting about this is the discussion of trying to add a lot of these firefighters, like in the future, to the public safety retirement system, if they're not already in there. Well, geez, hasn't the legislature been taking a pretty hard look at the pension systems already and complaining that one especially, is not well funded?
Well,
how does this help?
Yeah, let's put them into something that we're not all crazy about to begin with. Is kind of a dichotomy.
Put them in the elected officials' plan.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of the budget, though, Ben. It sounds like the surplus is better than expected. We got $200 million more than expected. Governor's crediting her, I think she called it her sound fiscal leadership. What's going on out there?
The governor is crediting, I think it was about $2 billion in spending cuts recently. So certainly it's going to improve Arizona's outlook, although every time there's a budget surplus, it always comes with the, but wait, we still have to be vigilant and we still need to be prudent and make sure that we don't just spend our money in a crazy way, which I think it'll be interesting to see come next session what people want to do with that $200 million.
Indeed.
They had ideas this last session on what to do with the surplus, but this is a result of just keeping your foot on that brake. They do not want a lot of spending because, as we now know, the penny sales tax has gone away. They do have the rainy day fund, and now they have this $800 million plus cushion to sort of cushion the blow from losing the $900 million a year that penny sales tax brought in.
And I haven't seen the projections, but if I'm remembering correctly, it's not too many fiscal years out when JLBC is predicting we'll have a deficit, two years. I don't know what the $200 million impact will have on that. Probably something like a drop in the bucket eventually, but it doesn't hurt.
Well, and the problem becomes, it's easy to say, well, we've got this excess. Well, have you looked at how much we've cut education in terms of what the funding formula should be? Have you looked at some of the other agencies?
Have you looked at like CPS, which despite even getting a little more generous funding this year, problems still persist. It ain't fixed.
Yeah, and so I can make myself look like I've got a surplus at the end of my fiscal year by simply stop spending on certain things like educating my daughter. But what's the point?
Well, we got a press release and obviously some celebration from the governor's office on that. Did we get a press release on the jobless?
Funny thing, I looked at my email because when Matt Benson was there at the governor's office, every time the unemployment rate would go down, it was a crowing look. My policies are successful. We went up 0.3 of a point, which is a lot in 1 month. I hear the crickets chirping from the governor's office. Nothing at all. Now, to be fair, there's some reason to believe that some of this may be statistical aberration. Mm-hmm. This is based on a sample of 1,000 people. Are you working? Are you looking for work? There's other indications that suggest nothing major has changed. For example, the first application for first-time unemployment benefits hasn't changed a lot. There were still some jobs being created. But we still are very deep in. We've only gotten back about half the jobs we've lost since the beginning of the recession. And, the economy is not speeding up.
Does it put a little bit of a damper there on what is it, the Arizona comeback? Is that what it's being referred to?
Yeah, the governor has touted the Arizona comeback, which is Arizona coming back from the depths of its budget problems and its economic woes. And yeah, of course, if you're lagging the national unemployment rate by a full percentage point, yeah, it does put a damper on it. I think give it a little more time, see if this is a 1 month fluke or a several months fluke. But most economists are predicting it's going to take like another 2 years for Arizona's out of the woods.
Oh, and at least that, the housing is coming back. Of course, there may be another bubble as the investors come in and out. You've got other issues, sequestration. We have manufacturing that's taken a hit. And if the federal government shuts down, all bets are off in terms of how that affects us.
Well, the interesting thing about the report is Arizona actually did add jobs and added jobs at about the 10-year average rate. Yeah. Nothing like it was the past couple of years, but we added jobs. But these were government jobs, these were education jobs, these were not construction and manufacturing jobs.
Well, that's really the key. The government jobs, it's a funny thing that, the folks go back to school and the custodians who were off in the summer were unemployed, now are employed. But looking just at the private sector, the jobs were leisure and hospitality. Do you want fries with that? May I clean your room? Manufacturing jobs not only didn't get added, actually got lost, not only month to month, but year over year.
Ben, real quickly, does this kind of information, we got the budget surplus, we talked about the impact that might have next session, something like this, if it persists, if it keeps wobbling at a full point above the national average, how much impact is that going to have next session?
I think there'd certainly be a call. There are always calls for ways to use Arizona's revenue to plug it back into the economy, into infrastructure, and try to improve, to add jobs. But there's going to be such a fight over how to spend that money.
But didn't we just hear that yesterday in the special task force that's studying the state income tax?
And we heard a snarky remark from from one representative saying, well, if you know the magic way to get that done, please let us know as soon as you can.
And I'll tell you, actually, I think it's going to be the other way. I think they're going to say, we just need to cut more taxes and cut more revenues, and essentially we'll get the tax rate down to zero and we'll be infinitely wealthy. All that Laffer curve stuff.
Okay, but realistically, will someone come out there with a different idea or a different way to go about this?
They're already talking about tax. The income tax issue, we're working on tax fairness. Well, what's fair to you may not be fair to me. But beyond that, there are folks who want further reductions in corporate taxes. There are folks who want to take the corporate tax or income tax rate down to zero. They all think that's the key.
All right, we got to stop it right there. Good discussion. Good to have you all here. Monday on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a celebration of local projects that emphasize environmental excellence and sustainability. And how much do after-school competitive activities impact future life success? Those stories Monday on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, we look at a conference that connects businesses with sustainability projects. Wednesday, find out how companies can develop their own secure mobile apps. Thursday, we'll talk to someone who met the SNAP challenge of living off of a food stamp budget. And Friday, it's once again the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.